or that the veil is thinning. We've heard this all the time in the spiritual consciousness and awareness communities. But what is it really about? And is it true? This is the topic that Bill McKenna and I will be discussing in today's episode. And I think you'll be surprised at really what's the truth about this, because there is a truth about it. And it is something that you absolutely have control over. Hi, I'm Liz Larson.
And I'm Bill McKenna. We're the hosts of the New Life Perspectives radio show.
We're also the creators of the Cognomovement system, where we help you rewire your nervous system so you can rewire your reality.
Join us each week for great conversations, amazing guests, and cutting-edge information on health, consciousness, and the keys to transformation.
So welcome, Bill McKenna.
All right. It's such an interesting topic. And a couple of days ago, our famous philosopher, our resident philosopher, Liz Larson, and myself were talking, and she blurted out something that was actually really cool, really interesting, and it was like, well, but of course, it was one of those, well, but of course, some people call Liz Larson a secret channeler. Not me. I didn't say it.
Oh, it wouldn't be you that says it.
Just some other people, other people, not me. So I would never repeat something like that.
Yeah. Actually, I know this to be true. It's like the Oprah question, what she knows for sure. What do you know for sure? And I know this for sure, that we are in a time right now where old ideas, old thoughts, old patterns have to be destroyed. And be destroyed, I mean de-storied, right? They're old stories, old things that we hinge our whole lives on that may not be true. A long time ago, maybe a couple of years ago, we had an episode where we're talking about the subconscious and where that idea came from. The term is now used medically when it's actually just an idea. It's an idea that was really proposed by the earliest of psychologists, psychiatrists. Before that was even a designation. And then really added to by Sigmund Freud. And in our day and age, we act as though it is a concrete thing. It's not. It is a compilation of an idea of how to explain the way the nervous system works, the way the brain and the body talks to itself, and how it gets stuck in a loop. That's the truth. And yet we still have this term. So as Bill and I were talking, we were preparing for another episode. We were talking about this, and all of a sudden, here's the words flying out of my mouth. Bill said something about the veil is not thinning, it's thinned. And immediately I heard myself saying, there is no veil. And my next questions were, have you seen it? Do you know where it is? Do you know who put it there? Right? Have you touched it? And really, as we thought about it, the answer is no. No, nobody's seen it. We don't even know where the idea came from. And so let's talk about what that meant, Bill. Let's talk about what people were referring to as the veil, as you understood it.
Well, I mean, the way that I understood it was the veil, most materially and physically, was in between life and death. Where there is another realm that you cannot see, you cannot hear, you cannot touch, you cannot taste, but there's this other realm where, some people would talk about, well, there's back when I was a little kid, there maybe that's a ghost or something like that. And there would be certain people that maybe would have, some abilities, or maybe I've seen one at one time or heard it, or all these different things, from basically beyond the veil. So the veil had to do with really the separation. And interestingly, I guess, with people having so many more experiences now, that they're seeing energy like auras. That's something that many people have either seen or experienced, or they've had an experience with a loved one that's passed, or from the angelic realm. They have an experience of seeing the Virgin Mary, which she's appeared. Marian. There's a wonderful TV documentary, Marian Apparitions, and it goes through a century of all these places around the globe where tens of thousands of people have witnessed this phenomenon, and not only that, but smelt it, the smell of roses. So there's all of these things that are kind of like, might be considered beyond the veil. However, what I love that came out of this conversation was, I think after you said what you said, Liz, because I was on the other side of it, because you said the entire thing. You said there is no veil. There's only really consciousness and awareness, and that we are all at a different level, and it's what we can perceive. And ultimately, as a group, we are all moving up in consciousness, awareness, perception. So perception is broadening, and that's all it is just more perception, having broader perspective, physically and with our senses as well. As we move up in consciousness, all of a sudden, a whole new, different realities start to become visible to us.
It's true. And we've said this many times, that with the eyes that we have in modern times right now, and we know that the eyes are the extension of the brain, we can see about 1% of the light spectrum. 1%. Now, imagine if you could see even 10%. What might be standing literally right next to you, right? If you could see 50%, what else is actually here that we can't see? So what we're describing really is exactly what you're saying, Bill, that we cannot perceive what's here. And I think that is the thing people have called the veil. I think the misperception is that it's a physical thing out beyond us somewhere. That there's a thickness between us and all this other stuff that's in the other 99% of the light spectrum, the other 99% of reality. There is not. So what there is a unique part of our physical body that creates what we experience as the veil. I was watching a podcast with Dr. Tara Swart, I think is how you pronounce it. She is a neurologist and a psychologist who started having paranormal experiences, what we call quote unquote paranormal. I think that's another part of the problem, but of seeing her dead husband. Now, what she thought is she might have to check herself into a psych ward. But what she did eventually is start to research the phenomenon and what it really had to do with our own brain activity. So we're going to take our first break. And everybody, I want you to know that Bill and my big event of the year, our Super Bowl, the Cogno Conscious event, is coming up September 8th through 12th. There are a few spaces left. And if you want to come, you need to reach out immediately to cognomovement.com. Go to the events, choose Cogno Conscious. All the information is there, and you can buy your tickets right online. And let's hear from also the good folks at the UK Health Radio Network. Okay, and we're back, and we're talking about whether or not the veil, quote unquote, between us and the dead, us and, I don't know, UFOs, us and ghosts, us and Bigfoot, if it's real, or is it just an idea that we've heard again and again that we just accept? And I would say, yes, in our communities, consciousness, spirituality, awareness, transformation, this term gets bandied around. And yet I think it is a misnomer. And this is the thing that Dr. Tara Swart went about proving. And what she discovered is that there is a part of our brain that wants to prevent us from seeing things that are really unnecessary to see, like things that don't keep us safe and alive. So in our everyday life, we see what's in front of us. We see a limited amount of our peripheral vision, and the brain makes up the rest, right? We call it making crap up. I use a different word for that, but it's true. The brain makes crap up. So what she supposes is that it is this system that limits our ability to see in that light spectrum, not just our eyes, and that it limits us from being able to perceive what actually is around us. And as it turns out, this is just the work that Bill and I do every day. So it explains why when people come home from Cogno Conscious, they have precognitive thoughts or dreams, why they see auras, why some of them see what they can only describe as an entity that heals them, right? So we have a solid, concrete answer for this. But for everybody out there who is not into the woo-woo, they don't hear about it every day like we do, talk about some of the things that people would say are beyond the veil, or why they think the veil is thinning.
Yeah, two different things there. As far as why they are saying that the veil is thinning, and that is the reason that people are saying that is because there are so many people out there now that are having experiences, like real life experiences of being able to feel another person, feel their energy, meaning the other person, I feel what they're feeling. This, that was not very much back in the day. That was not a really talked about thing, but as simple as that, people are more readily able to have an empathic feeling. Other people are having experiences where they're having dreams that are, predictive of the future in some way. Hey, look out for this. There's going to be a problem. Or, hey, there's going to be something really great here. So they're precognitive type dreams. Other people are experiencing that their influence over material things that they should not have influence over, like a clock, that their watch doesn't keep time and doesn't work, or drains the battery. They'll drain the battery quickly, or that when they get around electronics start to fail, or if they get upset, things break around them. These type of things are happening more and more, and people are beginning to get more and more messages. The quantity of people that are now channeling has exploded. They're everywhere. All kinds of people out there are bringing through all kinds of messages. Now, certainly some of them are not so much, but other ones are profound. So all of these abilities have been talked about for millennia within the ancient texts in Tibet, India, those sorts of things in the East. They've well documented all of these different abilities, and they knew something in the West that we didn't, and that is that these are related to your level of consciousness. A level of consciousness is simply the understanding that we've come to thus far in our lives. Like, we've come to a place of acceptance. We've come to a place of love or of joy. And as we go up through the spectrum of a new feeling, like, I'm no longer afraid, I'm okay, I'm going to be okay, I have courage, or I trust that everything is going to be okay. With that comes new perception. In the easiest way I can explain this is, if I don't trust, if I let's say I don't effing trust this scenario, my perception shuts down. There's only one possibility or two, and they both suck. When I do trust, all of a sudden new possibilities emerge, open up. So it's not like magical. It's natural. It's like breathing.
It is. And let's stop for a second and explain why this is. So when a person is, really, they're angry about something, they're holding somebody, they're blaming somebody, they're accusing somebody, they are afraid, you're in fight or flight. In fight or flight, your body naturally brings you down to a very myopic view. What do I have to do to get out of this situation, right? And if a lion is on your butt, it's resourceful. But in our modern day and age, it's really not that resourceful, because what our body sees as a lion on our butt, this anger, this situation, that being so myopic, being singular focused, limits our ability to see all the other ways that could change, right? We've all done it. We all do it. We get upset about something and then we get stuck in a positionality, right? In that stuckness, the body is using all of your energy. And there is a part of the brain called your reticulating activation system. Let me double check the wording on that. It is the reticular system of your brain. It's the brain that sort of filters everything and refocuses you. And so, yeah, it's the reticular activating system, the RAS system, that makes you have this myopathy, makes you be singular focused, right? Meaning it stops the connectivity to the other parts of the brain, relegates everything to the limbic system that says, fight like hell, run, hide, get bigger than, get smaller than. So naturally, everything available goes away, and you've got this singular focus. So when a person forgives someone else, when they get into that love and joy and bliss, what happens? The only way you get there is you've let go, your body has let go of that myopic situation. Your vision has opened, more parts of your brain start talking to each other, which creates creativity. In creativity, you're wondering what else is possible, what else is there? Your vision literally naturally opens. The nervous system calms. All the energy that was going to all that fight or flight goes to that creative system. the creativity starts to flow. It's called hyperconnectivity. And super creatives have super hyperconnectivity. More parts of their brain are talking at the same time. But strangely, and here's the thing, people that are considered crazy, insane, also often have hyperconnectivity, which begs the question for me, are they actually crazy? Or are they seeing more than the rest of us do and talking about it? So part of your reticular activating system, when it is not functioning well, you do hallucinate. But it begs the question, is it a hallucination? Are they really seeing something?
Yeah.
The problem is you don't know the difference, and that's where the crazy comes in.
Right. And is it resourceful or non-resourceful?
Right.
Some people have it where literally it's resourceful and they can offer information to others that is like, oh my gosh, this person is gifted and they are dead on time. Absolutely. There's these amazing I forget his name, John, the remote viewer #1, where he was able to see things that were very resourceful to the government.
Yeah.
On the Russians and them having these Titan sub or whatever I think they called it, and it was like, oh my gosh, and he described it perfectly down to the day and exactly how it was all going to happen. Details, precise details that trillions to one, to come up with all the details, schematics, everything.
It's well known now that the government used Ingo Swann. He's one of the most famous remote viewers.
Yeah.
He had other skills as well to remote view situations, Russia, all that kind of things.
Yeah.
We know that they're still using that to this day, which would be considered paranormal. And yet, people can be trained to do it. You can be trained to use your physical body and brain in that way to remote view. Now, I suspect that the people who are drawn to learn it probably already have the brain capacity to do it. If you're not interested in that, you probably wouldn't be drawn or take the class. And there's going to be people who are at varying strengths of being able to do it. It's like you've got your virtuoso violin players, and you've got your people who just play for themselves at home. Both can play. One's a virtuoso, one isn't, right?
Yeah.
So you're going to have varying levels. We don't know why some people are excellent and some people are just okay. My guess would be it's how much their nervous system allows for. So most people, what happens when you see something paranormal, it scares the heck out of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're terrified.
Right.
And society doesn't want to hear about it. The first thing you think, like Dr. Swart thought, is, am I crazy? Dr. Swart said that she literally went through the list of things that would make somebody need to be committed in a psych ward. And she really considered that maybe she needed to go because she had witnessed her husband walk through a wall in physical form. So it scared her, but then she realized it was real enough. And there were signs that what she was experiencing was not a hallucination, that her brain dug in and started to research, right? But in another situation, she might have just got on medication and shut that thing down.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting, and in the not knowing, or being exposed to somebody who's good with it, who's like, oh gosh, come on over here, let's talk about that. It's totally, either they've been down that road or they know somebody who's been down that road, and you can calm down. but I think that the way you put it was so good that that why is it that maybe you have an experience and then it's like, oh,
Yeah.
like you can imagine seeing something for the first time, or first time getting information.
Yeah.
They'll freak you out. Like, or your ability to, actually, you know, influence something, like
Mhm.
it freaks you out. Like, wait a second, I was really upset, and then the motor caught on fire. I didn't have anything to do with that, and that's too much power. And oh no, I can't. No to that.
Mhm.
And that restricts that nervous system. That's where you get that restriction in your nervous
Yeah.
system, and we shut these things down. But I think that because there's so much more information, the internet these days,
Yeah.
that people and more people are having the experiences. Not only that, but uh, for millennia, there's been an actual prediction. These other people who long ago had the abilities had been predicting the age where there's going to go through a global shift.
Mhm.
So this whole thing, of course, you're going to think, oh, the thinning of the veil or whatever, but in truth, it's merely that there's an elevation of a stair stepping up of everyone's collective consciousness.
However, I think what we are doing is coming out of where we step down into it, because even even biblical texts, it talks about a lot of things, people being raised from the dead, you know, the demons coming in and out of things coming out of the sky, angels. And all of these ideas were pretty normal to the people that at the time those books were written for. If, the start of them is about 2,500 years ago with the Jewish text, 28, depending. And they were talking about all these metaphysical things that obviously had to have been acceptable for them to know about, to think about, right? When they tell the story of Jesus resurrecting Lazarus, they wanted him to come over and do it. It wasn't like, well, that's not possible. He's dead. They're like, hey, can you get Jesus over to do it? I mean, they were even heckling him a little bit. It seemed like a very casual situation. In many other texts, we think about the Bhagavad Gita and I'm trying to think of the Ethiopian text. They're talking about Solomon and what they called demons. Solomon controlled demons with a ring, and they flew through the air on what looked like magic carpets. Like, all of these things were not fantastical to them, they were normal. And then fast forward to, really, if you think about it, the rise of the Catholic Church. If you're Catholic, no offense, but at that time, especially in like the 1400s, there was this big push that the church knew everything and anybody outside of that knew nothing, and they would kill you. So let's look at Galileo. Galileo was a scientist. He was using scientific tools at the time. And the idea that the earth was not the center of the universe, they locked him up for it. Eventually, I think they killed him. I don't remember exactly my history on that one, but there were other scientists that they did kill. So the church became the government, and more governments realized that they could manipulate people and close down their minds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They say that it takes 150 years for people to forget what happened. All they have to do is keep telling people that didn't happen and change the narrative. So 150 years from now, the narrative could be changed completely, where there is no memory that COVID ever happened. None of it. 9/11, any of those things. So we just systematically were told, well, that's evil, you shouldn't do it. Then it got to where it's not real.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's not just hundreds of years ago. It exists today in spades.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's take our next break. And we have a great event coming up here, Bill, in September. It's coming up real soon, 8th through the 12th, Cogno Conscious. If you listen to the show a lot, you've heard us talk about this event. This is one of those events that just rips the veil right off. It really does. It changes the way the brain and body talk to itself, to each other. It creates that hyperconnectivity. And what was real before the event is not real after the event. And not just paranormal things, all the regular crap of the day. Your mind is able to interpret in a completely new way. So we'd love to invite you to come to that. Go to cognomovement.com, go to the upcoming events and choose Cogno Conscious. There are a few tickets left. The space is getting limited. So come on, if you can, you're welcome worldwide. All right, let's also hear some messages from the good folks at the UK Health Radio Network. And we are back. We are talking about how it is possible that this idea of a veil happened in the first place. So let's talk about what you first said, Bill, that you thought that the veil meant between the dead and the living world, right?
Yeah.
You remember where you got that idea from? Why do you think that? What made you think that?
I think it was just part of my upbringing that I was brought up Catholic, never missed a Sunday, I think for like 21 years, every Sunday, holy days of obligation, all of it, always showed up religiously, shall we say.
Yeah.
Always showed up, you don't want to go to hell. So I always showed up. But that's where the basic idea had come from. And so I, like all of us, I think it wasn't anything sinister or anything like that. I think all it was is just, something that's handed down from generation to generation. And ultimately what it is we're all programmed. We're programmed. And just as much we're programmed with the idea of the veil, we're also programmed to see a particular perspective. So this is the perspective that we go through life. Like for me, hell exists and you don't want to go there. And these are the things you got to do. There's 10 of them you got to do to keep out of there. Okay. Mm-hmm. So pretty simple, and but that programming creates a feeling, right? About those 10 things. So but the interesting thing is that this programming is something that turns out it's not just us that figured it out. The World Economic Forum. I don't know if everybody's heard of the World Economic Forum, WEF. So the WEF on their website has kind of a charter of things, these are the things for 2030. You'll own nothing and be happy. You're not going to hardly eat any meat anymore. And there's, numerous different things. Plus, their basic premises is that one of them is, and get this, humans are hackable.
Mm-hmm.
And guess who's a member of WEF? Google. There was a cache of inside documents from Google that has an entire matrix of how it all works, about what is shown to you and what's not shown to you.
Mm-hmm.
The flow bottom line is the after all what's shown to you, the bottom line is that the human is programmed. So if you're, for example, shown the perspective of fill in the blank, this race over here is bad, and here's the evidence and documents, and I'm just going to feed that to you, and I'm going to feed you videos of why that is. So every time you go on, you're just like, huh, wow, yeah, well, sure, well, they're doing that.
It reinforces what you believe is true or not true, real or not real.
Exactly. So you get programmed. This is not, this is something that is literally coming out. They know about it because it's being utilized. It's the amazing thing is that all of us are subject to it because of the intense flow of information. Yeah. And once we have the feeling and we accept it, there we go. That's our belief.
Yeah, it's more intense and more targeted now because of that. And, you've got radio waves, you've got TV waves, you've got microwaves, you've got cell phone waves, you've got every kind of a wave imaginable coming at and being interpreted by our nervous systems. Our nervous systems are how we take in all of the information through every sense we have. I think it was Dr. Schwartz who's saying we have like 36 senses, not just 6.
Oh, this is interesting.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
All kinds of things. Even our digestion is an information system, a sensation, part of the sense of how we decide what's happening in our environment. Do you know that the bacteria on our skin are also part of our senses? They will tell us if an atmosphere is okay or not okay. They will react to our internal body. So a thing like staph infection is always on your skin. But when your immune system starts to go low or you've had an injury, you're far more susceptible to that staph infection, but penetrating the skin barrier. So it's it senses whether or not the system is well or not well. So those are just a few of the things. She says there are 34 or 36. So there's something that is very unique about our day and age in which we are receiving all of this information, and yet we're so limited on what parts of it we think we can see with our logical mind, right? But the body is experiencing it no matter what. In the past and in other traditions, a person would go on a vision quest. When they would get to the age of maturity, or if they were going to be the shaman of the group, they would go out alone without any input from the group. They recognize that we are constantly receiving input from the group. Whether we like it or not, we're a hive mind. We hear each other's thoughts. We're in each other's neurological soup. We're creating a field about opinions and feelings and ideas all the time, right? And we influence each other. This is provable by that women's cycles sync up if they're living in the same house or working in the same office, right? Obvious one. So the person would go out alone. And what do you hear? They all had visions. After a certain length of time, they would be shown or they would see what reality really is without the influence of everybody else's signals coming at them. Today, people will do what's called dark retreats, where they go in a dark room, it's double thick walls, for up to 40 days. And after 1 or 2 days, you start to see in the dark. Beyond that, you start to have what people call hallucinations. But your brain-eye combo is starting to see in a new light spectrum without light, right? Eventually, people have full-blown visions and all kinds of things. Without the input of everything else around us, we start to formulate our own view of reality. So we really are programmable. That's not new
Mhm.
at all. But what can you do to counteract all of that? And that's what we do, you and I, Bill. And it wasn't intentional off the bat. We started to notice that when a person came out of fight or flight, when their brain was simply harmonized, left and right brain, moving information, cycling normally, that all of a sudden a person's whole reality would change. And 3,000 miles away, some person in relation to them also changed dramatically. People manifested things instantly, like instantly. People's relationships changed instantly. People started to see auras. People started to see orbs. People started to have, a communication with people on the other side. I just want to point out that that's not new either. In all the traditions, even those of the Bible, there is communication with the dead, communication with the other side, steps you could take to go to the underworld in some traditions, steps you could take to reach deities, full-on conversations, full-on downloads of information. It's all there. We've just forgotten that it's actually us. It's something that we can do. So what Bill and I discovered over time and continually discovered that as we create this hyperconnectivity in the brain, combined with a down regulation of the nervous system, that people naturally have more access to what the world really is, what reality really is, right?
Yeah. Well, it is interesting. I think that it's another step in the journey of reality, meaning that it is not the ultimate reality. It is just a new reality because we're simply seeing the reality through that lens, that distortion. And there's just lesser distortion or more distortion. Mm-hmm. If you look at your life, right, the times that, oh my God, the lion was on you, whether that was financial or physical or relationships, I'm going to get, they're going to break up with me or whatever the thing is, all of that was the distortion of fear. And then there's other distortions as well as we climb up the ladder, but we get closer and closer to or broader and broader perspective. And the other thing about this is that it feels better and better. You can imagine what's the difference in between being afraid, of, oh my God, the, financial, and then the difference is like, you know what, it's always worked out. And I think I can trust my finances. I've been through 50 years of, financial ups and downs, and it always works out. I'm going to trust my finances now, because even though I can't see next month, about how much money is going to come in, but I'm going to trust and notice the tension goes away out of the body and it relaxes and we just feel better and we're closer to the truth of our lives. So this, you get a kind of a double or, triple whammy as you go through an experience like is available at Cognoconscious, where we sell consciousness upgrades in bulk.
Yeah, right.
Is like, not only do I feel better, not only does my perception broaden, but also new possibilities emerge. And life just simply starts to synchronize. Coincidences start to happen, and things just kind of start working out.
Yeah, people emerge. You emerge as a new person because you're wired differently when you come out. And because of that, you really do see the world in a brand new and different way. All right, you guys, we have come up against the end of this episode. It's really fun talking about this. And I would suggest if you're listening to the show, if you made it all the way through, you are a person who has the ability to think outside the box, to think possibly outside the programming. And I would encourage you to do it. And then find tools that help you do it even greater, like the Cognomovement system. All right. Thanks for being here, Bill McKenna. Thanks for having this fun conversation.
Thank you. Looking forward to the next one.
Yeah. So everybody out there in the UK Health Radio land around the world, until next time, be safe and be well.